Okay, starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have lemurs. Growing up watching Zaboomafoo made this one hard to put on this list considering how badly that show made me want my own pet lemur. And to know that there are people out there living my dream hurts. But after doing some research, I think it's probably best if we all just leave the lemurs alone. Not only are lemurs illegal to own in many states, but the sale and transfer of lemurs is also highly regulated in almost all of the states, which would of course prove to be one major obstacle. Other than the legalities, lemurs are highly social creatures, so unless you're planning on having a whole conspiracy, which is what a group of lemurs is called, it would just be cruel and unusual treatment, and if you did have a whole conspiracy, you better watch out because that can be highly dangerous. Female lemurs have many scent glands that they use to attract males in the wild, so if your pet is a female, chances are she's going to be leaving her scent everywhere, and apparently it does not smell very pleasant. Lemurs love to make noise, so they'll probably most often be singing their song as loud as possible, and lemurs have diseases that can be transferred to humans and vice versa. I think this is all pretty good reasons to not have a lemur as a pet, but hey, maybe that's just me.
Number 9. Hedgehogs. I've known at least a few people who have had hedgehogs as pets. I've seen them, I've pet them, they're super cute, and one person even bred them, so when I came across this little fact I was kind of shocked, but they're actually not illegal in Canada. Hedgehogs are just like spiky hamsters, and they fit perfectly in your pocket, but these animals are actually illegal to own in California, Hawaii, Georgia, and Pennsylvania, and even Washington and New York City have laws against owning them. The reason these states have decided to make these little guys illegal are due to 1, the fact that they are spiky, poor things can't help it, but they can definitely lead to injury, especially if you try to unroll them when they're hiding and they're doing their thing, or if you rub them the opposite way. Don't do that. And 2, they can carry foot and mouth disease which can be passed on to humans. There's also the slightly irritating fact that they are nocturnal, so unless you are too, expect to be kept awake by little squeaks. And I guess in New York City, so will your, I don't know, roommates and neighbors. So.
In our number 8 spot today we have skunks. This one might seem crazy to think that people would even want to own it, but of course, there really are people out there. There isn't a ban on skunks everywhere, but there most definitely is in 17 states. Maybe it's the 17 states where people are asking if they can have a pet skunk? Skunks can have their scent glands removed so that you don't have to bathe in tomato juice every night, but if that's the cost of having a skunk, I have to ask if it's worth it, and is that fair? Another reason why skunks are not meant to be kept as pets is because they are hunters who like to hunt in the wild. They want to be out catching rodents and birds and living a hunter-gatherer lifestyle, considering they are meant to be wild animals. Skunks also need a more calm environment, so if you're a busybody or have kids, this is just another pet that's not for you. Skunks would need to be dewormed regularly, and also there's no rabies vaccine for skunks, so they could potentially very easily pass the disease onto other animals or humans if the skunk ends up feeling a bit feisty. Regardless of everything I just said, there really are people who own skunks as pets. I can imagine there's reasons that would make them desirable to have as a pet, but truthfully we should just let wild animals be wild animals.
Number 7. Sugar gliders. Super cute, right? Impossibly cute and ridiculously charming, these little buddies are all the rage. Though they are illegal to own in Alaska, California, Hawaii, and Pennsylvania, St. Paul, Minnesota, and New York City. New York City already has a rat problem, they don't need any more problems. Alternatively described as flying squirrels, I can 100% see why people would want to own these critters as pets, but they too come with challenges. Though they are omnivores, they need to drink specialized water and nectar, which can be expensive and hard to find. They are also nocturnal and need a dark environment during the day to hang out in, and then of course they need something to do at night. So again, if you're a night owl, this might work for you, but probably not. It will also be a struggle to find a vet who can actually work with them, as many refuse to take them on as patients. So if they get sick, help will be difficult to find, so there is definitely a quality of life issue here, but they still remain a popular exotic animal to own. They can glide through the air for over 100 feet without touching the ground and are relatively social. They are docile, live a pretty decently long time, and can do tons of tricks if you figure out how to train them. Though they are still considered wild animals, so again, maybe stick with a hamster. I don't know.
In our number 6 spot today, we have turtles. I absolutely could not believe it when I found out that this is a pet that is illegal in a lot of places, because I know people who have had or still own turtles. This isn't the most widely banned pet, but it is still illegal in some places, with others having pretty strict guidelines in place about the turtles you can own. I feel like at this point it's common knowledge that turtles often carry salmonella on the outside of their shell, which of course can pose a threat to humans. This also carries to their cages and aquariums, which need cleaning and maintenance, but it can be dangerous if you don't really know what you're doing. Turtles also tend to grow to the size of their habitat, which is why you'll see much larger turtles out in the wild than you'll usually see when people have them as pets. It would be quite difficult to have a turtle as a pet and be able to provide it a big enough area to live in where you can also allow it to grow to its full size and make sure your entire home isn't covered in salmonella. Also, your turtle will most likely outlive you, so if you must have one as a pet, you better make sure someone else is ready to take on the responsibility of a pet turtle in the case of your passing.
Number 5. You knew this was coming. Bengal tigers. Move over, Tiger King. Of course tigers are on this list because there are several reasons that these shouldn't be pets that involve both your health and theirs. The cats and dogs that we have today are a result of thousands of years of domestication and breeding. They were once wild animals and it took a lot of patience to train them to be man's best friend. But even still, there are dogs and cats that are prone towards aggression. Tigers are still born and bred wild animals, and though they can be affectionate, especially if they consider you a part of their pride, they can still turn on you in a whim. Additionally, they need tons of space, plenty of activity, and tons of food. Wild animal, remember? For all these reasons and more, these tigers are illegal to own as pets in at least 19 states, and where it is allowed, you must prove that it is at least 4 generations removed from its wild ancestors. You also could be contributing to a black market poacher industry if you even attempt to own one, so maybe just don't. If the Tiger King couldn't handle it, then neither can you, Fred, okay?
In our number 4 spot today, we have penguins. This is one I can admit is not a widely owned pet, but it has and does still happen.
Ay, come.
Although penguins usually live in Arctic temperatures, it's not necessary for their survival, which makes people think that taking them out of their natural habitat is just totally fine. All 18 species of penguins are actually protected, which is something we don't see happen very often with an animal. If you even came across a penguin or its egg in the wild, you have to report it first before you're even allowed to interact with it. That's how protected they are. There is also an international treaty that regulates the trade of certain wild animals, and you guessed it, penguins are most definitely on that list. There are even 2 species of penguins that are currently listed as endangered, which 100% means that they're off the table as pets, and if you find a way to illegally obtain one, you have to deal with the ethics of that on your own conscience. I totally get the appeal of a pet penguin, as they are insanely adorable creatures, but they are not meant to be pets, and we just all need to accept that.
Number 3, Shosies. Another one in the cat family. We mentioned Bengal tigers, but of course some crafty people decided to get inventive because they just needed a wild animal in their home. I don't even know if they have anything precious in there. Oh man. Shosies are a kind of hybrid cat that was created by breeding jungle cats and domesticated cats. They are twice as large as your regular tabby, and like jungle cats, are not content to just lie around all day doing nothing, though they kind of do, but they need activity. They have to go for walks, long walks, plus additional activities, otherwise they will transform into a feline nuclear bomb. You think cats are bad now, tearing up your curtains or staring you down while knocking off a vase from a mantle? To reiterate, if you expected that wild animal instincts can be bred out that quickly when it's taken us thousands of years in every other example, then you're dead wrong. But if that doesn't scare you, their poop will when you step in it on your way to work in the morning. They refuse to use litter boxes, so good luck potty training them. Yeah, good luck.
In our number 2 spot today, we have alligators. I said that it would be hard to believe that someone wanted a skunk as a pet, but I think alligators might take the cake on that one. Alligators are banned as pets in almost all states, but where they're not banned, you most definitely need a permit, and I think we can all understand why. If you do get the required permission to own one, firstly, I hope you're prepared, but you'll need to provide the alligator with an enclosure that will ensure the animal stays in and everything else is kept out unless necessary. You are also fully responsible and liable for anything the alligator does, which is a lot of responsibility to take on for a strong and feisty creature. Things can happen so quickly and when you least expect it, and an alligator can cause lethal damage with just one bite sometimes, so you most definitely have to weigh out those risks. If you own an alligator, you'll also need to let wildlife authorities regularly inspect the alligator and its habitat. It's always annoying to have people come and scope out your home, or in this case your pet's home, but I think we can all agree that this is a rule that's probably for the best, and they can help you monitor your alligator to make sure it's feeling happy and healthy.
And now in our number 1 spot, we have zebras! Specifically in Nevada and many other states, zebras are considered illegal to own as a pet. This is also really funny because I do believe I know someone in Canada who has one. I will never tell. But also, my question is, when did horses go so far out of style that zebras were even considered as an alternative? There was the 2005 movie Racing Stripes that I vaguely remember seeing in theaters about a zebra trying to race with the horses. Adorable, but in reality zebras can't talk and are actually pretty aggressive and have been known to hurt and kill humans with a single kick. It's also really hard to earn their trust as an owner, even if you raised one in a domestic environment. Also take actor Steve McQueen, as they are constantly looking for the next great escape. Even fenced areas aren't much of an obstacle for them. When they do escape, they are almost impossible to catch, as they would rather run themselves to death than be caught. Which is super sad. Why? Because maybe they are wild animals. So if you really want a zebra, maybe consider finding like an albino mule and painting stripes on them rather than owning a zebra. But also, I'm kidding, like don't do that. Also, zebras drown other young, and that's very violent and scary.
Starting off at number 10, we have Mike Tyson and his white tiger. The world famous boxer has been known to live quite an extravagant lifestyle, but everyone was still quite surprised when he brought home 3 Royal Bengal tigers. 2 females named Kenya and Storm, and a male tiger named Boris. Nice name for a tiger. One of them even appeared alongside him in The Hangover. The tigers reportedly cost about $70,000 to own, as well as $125,000 a year for an animal trainer to look after them whenever he went away. Eventually, Tyson had to give them up because he didn't actually have a proper license to own them. The tigers ended up living in a serene refuge in Colorado. I wish someone would confiscate me and put me in a serene refuge in Colorado. Moving on to number 9, we have Steven Tyler's pet raccoon. The lead singer of legendary rock band Aerosmith once did an interview with David Letterman where he talks about having a pet raccoon. People tend to think of raccoons as wild creatures that often carry diseases, not the ideal pet you might think, but Steven Tyler said he had a pet raccoon when he was younger, and when I say pet, I don't mean like he kept it in the garage and left it food once in a while. Steven said he kept it on his shoulder and went fishing with it all the time. Clever little raccoon. It got itself a pet human to go fishing for it. Very clever. Next up at number 8, we have Nicolas Cage and his pet cobra snakes. Cage said he had 2 of them, named Moby and Sheba, and they cost him about $270,000, and he kept them in his Hollywood home. Cage said that he had to keep the antidote to their venom near him at all times because a single bite from one of them would kill him in about 15 minutes. He said that watching the snakes' hypnotic movements when they would sway side to side helped him to play the part of Ghost Rider, the bounty hunter of the damned in the Ghost Rider movies. In the end though, he was forced to give up his cobras to a zoo when his neighbours found out about them and they threatened to sue. I'm sure 1 cobra would be absolutely fine, but 2, I think you're pushing it, Nick. Moving on to number 7 now, we have Vanilla Ice and his pet Wallaroo. He's famous for Ice Ice Baby, but his pet comes from Australia, a land known for being very hot indeed. A Wallaroo called Bucky Buckaroo. Brilliant. A Wallaroo is a close relative of the kangaroo. The 90s rapper adopted him when he was just a few weeks old, and he has lived with him in South Florida ever since. Mr. Ice even made him his own Wallaroo mansion, apparently, for him to hop around in and eat kangaroo chow. He lives there with a goat called Poncho. Apparently one time Poncho bashed open the gate in the back garden and Poncho and Bucky went missing for 2 weeks. A Wallaroo and a goat escaped from a rapper for 2 weeks. I can't wait to watch that movie. Next up at number 6 we have Salvador Dali and his pet anteater. Now if you guys have ever seen a painting by the world famous Salvador Dali, you'll know he liked to think outside of the box, shall we say, and he was no different when it came to pets. Here is a very famous picture of him emerging from the subway in Paris in 1969 with one of his famous anteaters on a leash. Everyone else looks just as confused as we would all be if we saw an anteater emerge from a subway station, but please spare a thought for that poor anteater who is probably more confused than anyone else there. He's found himself in a strange concrete jungle being taken for a walk by a surrealist painter, and there's not a single ant in sight anywhere, which as an anteater is a bit of a problem. Coming in at number 5 now, we have Michael Jackson's chimpanzee. In the late 1980s, megastar Michael Jackson started making public appearances with a new furry friend, Bubbles the chimpanzee. Jackson had bought him from a research facility some years before, and by the time the media saw him, he was already fully trained, he wore clothes and seemed very comfortable around people, especially Michael Jackson. He took Bubbles with him on his Bad World Tour, where they famously drank tea with the mayor of Osaka in Japan. Bubbles lived at the Neverland Ranch for a number of years, where he slept in a crib, he ate candy and even used toilets. When he became an adult, he was moved to a center for great apes, where he still lives to this day. Okay, at the number 4 spot now we have Paris Hilton's kinkajou. That's a strange thing for me to say. First things first, what exactly is a kinkajou? It's okay, I hadn't heard of them either. A kinkajou is a small rainforest mammal native to Central and South America. Now they're not actually endangered, but because of how nocturnal they are, they're quite a rare sight to see. But not for Paris Hilton apparently, because she had one in the early 2000s. What was its name? Baby Love. Yeah. Now you'd think that being a kinkajou called Baby Love in LA would make it famous enough, but Baby Love stole headlines in 2006 when it bit Paris and she ended up being rushed to hospital. Baby Love hurts. Okay, next up at number 3 now we have Elvis Presley's wallaby. The king was known to be a real animal lover. He owned a number of different dogs. On his farm he kept pigs and chickens. He even had geese to help keep his lawn nice and trim. But perhaps his most notable pet was a baby wallaby given to him by some Australian fans. A wallaby is a close relation of the kangaroo. There are a number of pictures of Elvis with the wallaby on the set of his famous Jailhouse Rock video. In 1957, Elvis donated the wallaby to the Memphis Zoo, where it lived out the rest of its life as possibly the most famous wallaby on the planet. I can't think of any others. Coming in at the number 2 spot now, we have Kristen Stewart's wolf dogs. Now I've managed to avoid watching Twilight after all these years, but even I know that Kristen Stewart's character has a bit of a fling with Taylor Lautner's character, who is a werewolf. But he isn't the only wolf hybrid in her life. Kristen's family actually raises wolf dogs. They're called Jack, Lily, Tommy and Lola. Her mother rescued them years ago and now keeps them on an open piece of land with trees in California. The family has often had to defend their ownership of the animals after neighbours accused them of illegally keeping wolves, but they are apparently perfectly legal in California, and the family has even described them as companions. Would you guys like a wolf dog companion? Sounds kinda cool. I wonder if they play fetch. And finally at number 1, we have Tippi Hedren and her pet lion. Tippi Hedren was an American actress and fashion model who took on a lion from Mozambique because she wanted to make a feature film about a family who share their house with wild big cats. And what's the best way to practice for that? Actually get a lion in your house, of course. He was called Neil, and a photo shoot from 1971 shows just how intimate the family was with an animal that usually sends people running for their lives. Some of the most shocking pictures showed their 13-year-old daughter Melanie Griffith, who would later become a famous actress in her own right, playing with the lion, even sleeping in the same bed as it. Years later, Tippi said she is now embarrassed and regrets letting a fully grown lion live with them, and that they were stupid beyond belief. Her words, not mine. Now I want to say, hey, you know what? Whatever. It was the 70s, right? But don't live with lions, man. they will eat you. Coming in at number 10 now, we have Ulrich. Ulrich is not just a fat cat, he is possibly the fattest cat. Ulrich belongs to Jan Mitchell from the UK, who took him on a pet fitness competition to try and help him lose weight. When they put him on the scales, he weighed in at 30 pounds. That's about the weight of a healthy toddler. He was put on a strict 6-month diet and exercise regime. Hopefully that worked out for him. I've not heard from him since. Next up at number 9 now, we have Zeus. Zeus is sadly no longer with us, but he's just too amazing to leave off this list. He was a 44-inch tall Great Dane from Michigan. He was the tallest dog in the world at one point. In fact, he's still the tallest dog ever. Despite being on all fours, he was taller than your average 5-year-old kid. Now, it's pretty much expected that a Great Dane will always be the tallest dog in the world because they are just generally huge, but even among Great Danes, Zeus was massive. Rest in peace, Zeus. Do you guys think his record will ever be beaten? Moving on to number 8 now, we have Gary. Gary is a capybara, and he's the world's largest pet rodent. These animals are normally found in the wild in South America, but Gary's owners got him from a breeder in the US. They did not expect him to get this big though. Gary weighs in at 112 pounds. That's about the weight of your average 14-year-old. That's right, Gary weighs more than some of you guys watching this video. Don't worry though, you're probably normal. Gary is definitely not normal. Next up at number 7 now, we have Goldie. This is the very creative name given to the largest pet goldfish ever. It was owned by Nick Richards from the UK and measured 15 inches long, 5 inches wide, and weighed in at 2 pounds. These may not sound like huge numbers compared to our previous animals, but remember, we're talking about a goldfish here. That is insane. This size was achieved in 2008, so it's safe to assume that Goldie is no longer with us. Couldn't really find any of the stories, but I'm guessing Goldie was not flushed down a toilet. Physically impossible. Coming at number 6 now, we have Bailey Jr. Jim Sautner is a man from Canada who has a pet bison. That automatically makes it one of the world's biggest pets, but this bison, named Bailey Jr., is especially large. He weighs in at over 1,600 pounds. That's about the weight of 10 adults. Now, Jim, the owner, says that Bailey Jr. is treated like family and that he even used to sleep in the house until he got just too big for it. I heard that when he left home, Jim said, "Bye, son." Sounded funnier in my head, actually. Next up at number 5 now, we have Medusa. That's the name of the biggest pet snake ever. In 2011, Medusa, a python, was measured at 7.67 meters. That's over 25 feet long. She was 10 years old when measured and took 15 people to hold her. She's housed in the Edge of Hell haunted house in Kansas City. I guess they were looking for a way to bring their haunted house to the next scare level, and they thought, hey, a 25-foot long snake should do it. The downside is she costs a lot to feed. Medusa will eat rabbits and hogs like they're just snacks. She's been known to eat an entire 40-pound deer in one sitting. Until I see a human do the same, I think that's pretty impressive. Next up at number 4 now, we have Big Jake. Big Jake is a massive horse. He lives in the Smoky Hollow farm in Michigan, USA, and just look at him. It's almost ridiculous. Big Jake stands at just under 83 inches. That's 6'9" from hoof to head. He's a pet, but also a workhorse on the farm. Pulling wagons is his full-time job. When it comes to diet, Big Jake eats big meals. His daily meal plan includes 1.5 bales of hay and 40 quarts of oats per day. So if any of you guys want to be just a little bit taller, now you know what to eat. At the number 3 spot now, we have Darius. Since 2012, Darius has held the record as the biggest rabbit on the planet. Just look at him. That's insane. He's part of a special breed known as continental giants, and that's not an understatement. Most of these rabbits will grow up to 4 feet long. Darius weighs in at about 50 pounds. I'm done giving you guys comparisons to humans. Let's just say that's crazy heavy for a rabbit. He's held the record for years, but it looks like he might be beaten by another giant rabbit, his own son, who is called Jeff. Yes, Jeff looks set to overtake his dad when he is fully grown, but at least the record will stay in the family. That's kind of cute. Next up at number 2 now, we have Hercules. Named after the Greek demigod, Hercules is a liger, a hybrid offspring of a male lion and a female tiger. Ligers are very rare and always bigger than either of their parents, but Hercules is just something else. He is the world's largest living cat, weighing in at 922 pounds. He is 10'9" in length and 49 inches tall at the shoulder. He lives a happy life at the Institute of Greatly Endangered and Rare Species, unaware of just how massive massive he really is. And finally at number 1 now we have Omar. We started with the heaviest cat, so let's finish with the longest one. Omar is a crazy 3 foot 9 inches in length. He's from Australia and is an inch longer than the world's official longest cat. The owner is just waiting for confirmation. Omar was discovered by the wider world after a video of him went viral in 2017. His owner made an Instagram account for him, of course, and that got 17,000 followers in just 2 weeks. Owner Steffi Hurst said he takes up too much room on the bed and he demands we cuddle and pet him all through the night. I guess you could say he longs for them.